Chasing Carnivore. Chasing Carnivore. Chasing.
All right, well, my name is Abe Bullman, and this is the very first ever Chasing Carnivore podcast. Got my the other host here, Gavin Patterson.
Hello.
Hello. They work. It works. We're live. This is something that Gavin and I have been kicking around an idea of doing for over 10 years now. We've hunted a lot, been to a lot of different places, and it's always something that you're riding in the truck, you're kicking around ideas, and you're like, let's do this. It's just too easy not to. So we finally sat down today, and we're going to record our first ever podcast, Chasing Carnivore Podcast.
Chasing Carnivore.
So, like I said, my name's Abe Bullman, and it's Gavin Patterson. We've been hunting for 10 years together all over Texas, fishing, hunting, all kinds of things. And so one of the things we're going to sit down and do is go over all the different types of things that we've done, kind of go over the public hunting land thing that we've both gotten into over the last year or so, and just really bring a lot of information to you guys about how to hunt public land, where to find it, how to hunt it, what you need to hunt it, and what you can get off of it. And we're going to document that whole process. And this is going to be a show that is going to help you get out there and overcome the high price of private hunting, especially in the state of Texas. You know, and you may not be here from Texas, but it's probably expensive to hunt on private land where you're at.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Let us and our stumbles and what we've learned help you guys, because this is something that we have certainly stepped on our own manhood before, and you don't have to waste resources that are limited and your energy, and maybe there's something here that resonates with you enough to where you go, hey, that's something I never thought of. Abe's right. I think the amount of time that we've spent in the field hunting and fishing, we've learned quite a bit. It's Abe's got a very good passion for it. He definitely knows how to keep the energy going with stuff like that. But we've done everything from private to public, from boating and fishing to lots of different kind of hunting. Kayaking now. We've tried a lot of stuff, and you're right. The price tag that comes with private hunting is harder, and nowadays Absolutely. I'm seeing that you have to get further and further away from big metros to even consider the idea of affording a land somewhere to hunt. It's hard.
I mean, I spent this year like really trying to I tried to make a commitment that I wanted to get on a piece of land that was close enough to Dallas that would make it worth it, right? And it's just too, without having a bunch of money, right? You whip the checkbook out and you can write $5,000-$10,000 down on a check and give it to somebody. That you probably find yourself someplace to hunt, you know, or you know somebody and you've been in. But most places that you're gonna have to go figure it out. There's gonna be 5, 10, 15, 20 other guys in deer camp with you, which could be a lot of fun. But you also may be walking into a situation where you don't know what that person right. do they have the same thought and of conservation and building a solid deer herd, or is it really just it's got horns, so shoot it So I mean that's really what led me to this whole public land thing, right? I mean, we live here in Dallas, and the fact that you can be on 20 or 30,000 acres of land within 2 hours, to turkey hunt, to dove hunt, to duck hunt, to hog hunt deer. I mean, you could trap if that's your game. That's the one. I guess that's the one thing we really haven't done is do like trapping raccoons, or but you can shoot coyotes if you're into the predator thing. There's coyotes, there's bobcats, and all that. So, I mean, that's really the fact that I can get into a stand and hunt within 45 minutes of my house here is, and for $48. That's the thing, you know, on top of the hunting license is a $48 stamp that you have to buy to do this, and it's millions of, it's a million or so, 1.72 million acres or so in the state of Texas. I mean, we're not the West, we're not Colorado or Wyoming, but I think it's something that a lot of people just don't want to do or know how to do or even where to start. It's not something that was I mean, as somebody who grew up a hunter, and I would same thing to you, it wasn't something I was very even much aware about,
Right.
as far as being an option. It was always private. As far as you knew somebody's uncle had a friend who would let you go and set up a deer stand. But that's become, it's just the money behind it has become so challenging to even get there being able to hunt on public land is where it's at. And you can be successful. I mean, people shoot giant deer all over the state of Texas on public land.
Yep.
They also shoot tasty small deer, so it doesn't, you don't even have to shoot a massive one. I mean, a lot of what Gavin and I like to do is we're a meat hunter, we love to fill our freezer full of tasty organic venison. So
if I shoot it, it's because I'm going to eat it.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
I mean, and just that whole process of just learning how to, take it from the very beginning of, finding it, harvesting it, and then turning it into sausage and different cuts of meat. I mean, Gavin, you're the butcher of the group for sure. That's what we're gonna go over a lot of that kind of stuff too, recipes, different ideas, different ways to handle meat and things like that if you're new to hunting, which is, it seems like more and more people are trying to join this little crazy thing. We call hunting every year, just because of the allure of organic meat.
Meat,
man.
Yeah, we will get into all that stuff throughout our podcast episodes. I think you nailed it right on the head, and I love the name that we came up with, and I want to spend some time talking about Chasing Carnivore. And I want to share with you guys the thought we put into that name. And when you read Chasing Carnivore, I mean, the first thing that you hear is chasing, and the perspective of that is we are chasing game, and we are going to bring to you what we've learned throughout the process of chasing that game. And we're really spending a lot of time on public hunting land, which is applicable everywhere. But Chasing Carnivore, when you hear carnivore, you think about meat eater, and we are in fact meat eaters, and we know it, and we want to have that as an option. And it's great that that's the result of something as fun and as challenging for sure of hunting, and it's a very big part. And like I said, I will reiterate this, that I'm not going to shoot something for sport. I am going to shoot it because I'm going to eat it. So we will take you from farm to table, if you will, from the best tactics to hunt, how to hunt, where to hunt, what to look for, but then also we'll take it to the table, where we're going to talk about, like Abe said, how to break down an animal and how to do it safely, and what to do if an accident occurs, you cut yourself, or what to do if you mess up on a muscle group when you're cutting it, in which
I get stabby with it.
Mr. Stabby over here gets a little stabby sometimes. It gets breaks.
Surprised I haven't taken a finger off.
But it's the Chasing Carnivore name is going to be our show, and it's going to be our brand, where we really think that pursuit, that chasing
Absolutely.
of game, and then the fact that we're meat eaters, and bringing that aspect of it and what we find most important. It's something that you'll be able to run with and take with. Public hunting has become very realistic. It is a resource out there, and you're right, it's so much more affordable, and it's actually close,
and it's a lot of fun. I just thought the fact of, not that I all my entire life I've sat in a deer stand over a feeder and hunted, and it's a challenge in and of itself. There's no doubt. Yeah. There's a lot of work behind that. There's no downplaying that one bit. But looking at a piece of land on Google Maps and trying to tear that piece of property apart to find out where deer are at when you have never set foot on it, right. and trying to even, some of these places are 5,000 acres, some of them are 1,300 acres, there's 200 acres, it's just very sporadic pieces of property, and the fact of just trying to figure out where to even start is a challenge. And then to be
very different
from
than
there,
private land.
There's no doubt. And it's often not maintained, so you're not walking out in lush green hay pastures that, you're neck deep with the ticks and the snakes, and it's you're chasing something that it's hunting like you've not hunted in Texas before, probably.
Yeah.
You know, and just trying to figure out how to do that. And we're going to bring you a lot of those things of what our tactics are and what we've learned in our years of doing it and how to be successful at it. And you're going to be able to see, not only listen to it on the podcast here, we plan on having a lot of different guests to talk about public hunting and hunting in general, fishing, you know, so, and this just isn't deer, right? There's places all over the Metroplex here in Dallas, but all over the state of Texas where for that $48, you can go hunt ducks quite easily, you know, and there's actually more land to go hunt ducks than there is deer, you know, just because you've got the entire surface area of lakes that you can go out to, and you know, dove hunting as well. So we really like the bird hunting thing too, and you know, little jalapeno bacon,
the filet mignon of the sky.
Yeah. Oh, that, I mean, filet mignon. You know, the ribeye of the sky is what I want. You know, those sandhill cranes is something that is very alluring to me as a bird that I have not yet chased. So I want to get that done this year.
I'll let me taste it first, but I keep reading that it's supposed to be really good. But
I mean, that's all I ever hear too, so I'll whack one and throw one on the grill. You know,
let me do the recipe, and you can
yeah, you cook it, and I'll just I'll shoot it. You can cook it, and
let's spend some time talking about you know, credibility here. So I think it's important to share with the audience who we are and what we've done from a hunting aspect, and that we're not just some yahoos wanting to have a podcast. We really do have 10 plus years experience doing this and doing it together. So
absolutely,
there's not a story Abe can share that I'm not going to go, he's absolutely 100%
yeah,
right.
No doubt.
I was there. So you'll hear some of those things come up as well. But Abe, in the past 10 years, I'd say we've hunted every season.
Absolutely.
We've pursued deer for sure. We've pursued hog. We've done the dove. We've done the turkey, which remember the times learning how to do a mouth diaphragm call.
Like, that's just a whole experience in and of itself. Just trying to walk out there and be like, all right,
I sound like
let's try to call some turkeys in and
silly, but yeah, we'll hit on those things. But so talk about your hunting, what you've done, what, you know, places we've been over the past 10 years, and the games pursued, and
you know, I'll tell you, I'll definitely cover that. Let's step back a little farther, just from where as growing up here in Texas, I grew up in a family on a ranch that, you know, we were taught safety of weapons and grew up on a lot of land. So I spent a lot of times out in the woods with my brother, just exploring and seeing things, and got started hunting. You know, really around high school was really kind of the first. My dad wasn't a giant hunter. He hunted, but was just not his thing. But in high school, my brother and I went out with some friends and went out to their lease and hunted for the first time. And I think we all remember the first time that we had a deer walk out in front of us. And it's just, the first time you took a shot at a deer, you know, because that was, unfortunately, my first time was just that, a shot. A clean miss, but you know, but still, you know, you go through those trials and those tribulations, but it grew from there. And you know, after high school, I really got into it, and you and I started going down to South Texas to the cousin's place, and it really was just something that we just worked and built, and took a place that, you know, he had hunted on for a lot of years, but we really started to put a lot of effort into feed,
game management,
stands, knowing the property, and hunting it really hard. And I mean, to me, it was really one of those things that has become a part of my life that I can't overlook, and I love it. And it led me to the public land thing, like I said, because we're in Dallas, and that's 4.5 hours away, and trying to do that with a life and a wife and a job and 3 dogs is pretty difficult, you know?
Agreed. And That's true. I do know that drive, and that's the area he's talking about is Cuero, Texas.
Yeah.
And so it's coming from the DFW area to Cuero. It's a 4.5, 5-hour drive to get there. And if you're like me, the drive home is the hard part.
Oh, Sunday's the worst, right?
You're just tired, exhausted, beat. But you make it, and you laugh about it when you get home because you've all the experiences you've had. But a lot like Abe, when I was
what about you?
16 years old, I remember that very first hunt.
Yeah.
And I grew up city kid. I'm not even going to lie. I was very 214 area code, Dallasite. And not a lot of hunting going on in my family. But I remember a dear friend of mine took me out and said, come to my ranch in Brownwood, Texas. And we went to his ranch, and it was my first time hunting. And we sat at the base of a tree. And I'm 16 years old, and he's like, all right, here's what to expect, here's what you do, and you're welcome to take, a doe off my land. I'm like, I got this.
Awesome.
Let's be very clear. I had no idea what I was doing.
Just fake it till you make it, right?
Fake it till you make it. I was wielding a rifle with a scope. It was amazing. I felt like Rambo. So I'm sitting at the base of a tree with Chris, my dear friend, and sure enough, first light in the morning, a doe comes out with another doe. And he's like, okay, this is it. And so I lift my rifle, and it felt like 1,000,000 pounds at the time. And I put the crosshairs of the scope right onto a deer. And I'm looking through the scope, and I whisper to Chris, I see it. It's huge.
It's huge.
And so he goes, okay, well, when you're ready, squeeze the trigger and take the deer. And I waited about 30 seconds, and I had this exactly where I wanted it. Pulled the trigger, boom, shot. Deer down right away.
Oh, it's just nothing better.
Maybe a 50-yard shot, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm like, it is so big. It looks like a cow. I can't wait to get up on it and see what
my
we've
God.
done, right? Oh, my God, it's
I
huge.
shot an elk.
So Chris congratulates me, and I'm shaking, and we walk up to it, and he's kind of like, here's what you do next. And we get up on this doe, and I realize I shot Bambi.
It's
I shot Bambi.
Yeah,
It was huge in the scope, obviously, but
of course. I mean,
now I know more about scopes and magnifications.
And ground shrinkage is a thing.
It is a thing. And so once I got up on it and shot Bambi, I kind of had a bit of a remorseful feeling. That first animal's life you take, you're kind of like, what have I done? What? But then it was taught to me the proper way to then go forward with, okay, now you've got to kill, and now the real work begins that you hear about so much. So Chris was emphatic. He taught me how to, drag the animal out, skin the animal, and go through the motions of breaking down an animal. And one of the things that was a ritual, a rite of passage, if you will, with his family was you had to take a bite of the heart.
Ooh.
Raw, live heart. And talk about fake it till you make it. So here I am breaking down an animal, and he hands me the heart, and I, oh yeah, big bite. Oh yeah, good, sure, yeah.
That's awesome.
Literally have blood on my face.
Yeah.
So that was my first taste, and looking back, I'll never forget that moment because it was so many lessons were learned in that. And getting that food was pretty cool at that point. But I know more about scopes now. I know more about game and aging animals and what's an ethical shot and then how to break down an animal and take it from the field to the table. So that was my first experience. And from that, I was like, I'm going to get better at this.
This has got to happen.
Not going to make this mistake again. I'm going to pursue this. And fast forward from 16 to now 39 years old, I've spent a lot of time hunting and a lot of time fishing. And I've learned a lot of stuff that's worth sharing. So it was a passion that it was exciting at the time. And now it's become that passion that I crave, that I want to be out there. I love the feeling of being quiet in the woods and watching the world wake up around you and just studying animals.
It's my favorite thing on earth.
It's amazing.
It's the morning hunt. When you just kind of you're out there in the dark. It's I mean, even if it's hot. I mean, it's hot in Texas most of the time in October when we're bow hunting, anyways. Yeah. But just to watch the world wake up is one of my favorite things to do. I don't know what it is, just the calm and the quiet and the peacefulness of it all, just to hear one bird and then two and then four and then six, and it's just
and the animal doesn't know you're there, and and I don't know how you feel about it, but if you're like me, it's no longer the I can't wait to shoot this thing.
No.
There's times where I'm like, if I just had a camera, that's the only shooting I want to do.
I mean, to me that's the best part, is as just viewing it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I do. And that's the kind of crave that I look for, is that moment in the woods where I get to wake up and be part of that earth waking up as well, and seeing animals that don't know you're there, and just watching it and studying it and looking at the animal behavior it's fascinating to me. And I'm, I'm a big guy. I'm 6.5 feet tall. I'm 250 pounds. It's not easy for me to conceal myself. That's the point.
You got to be real still.
But to have that kind of control over your body and your breathing and the noise you make when you're in a tree stand, it's a real skill.
Yeah.
And it's something that you've got to work on, and that's what I want to make sure I'm bringing to this table.
Yeah, I mean, for me, that was like when we changed and stopped, not stopped, but when we, kind of moved from the rifle to the bow, was just what a difference. That first year when we just, where we hunt down in Cuero, or one of the places we hunt down in Cuero is you can only take a doe with a bow in bow season. So the ratio is so out of control. It's ridiculous. Yeah. And so we had to add to that. We really just never, the two of us, I don't think I never bow hunted. I never even shot a bow, really. And it was just something that we both were like, all right, if we're going to do this thing correctly down here, we're definitely going to have to start taking some does off. And from the meat perspective, it was awesome. We get to add, essentially 2 more deer to the freezer, and just that first year we did that. I got a crossbow the first time because I'm a weirdo. I'm right-handed, but I'm left eye dominant.
Yeah,
so trying to figure out how to do that. And wanting to get up and running with it as quickly as possible. Got the crossbow, and then that first year we sat in that pop-up blind at 10 yards from that feeder and had just deer at 5 yards, at 10 yards. Was a rush that I cannot give up. Mm-hmm. That being that close and being hidden and them not knowing you're there is by far, that's the draw for me every time. I love being there, and like you said, and not having them know you're there. It's just a lot of fun.
Hair on my neck stand up when I think about it.
Absolutely. And so, but this is one of those things that you get started in and you just can't stop. To me, it's hard to put it down unless something terrible happens to you, and I don't know. But what else? We had perfect plans to have this thing,
Yeah, we'll talk about a bunch of that stuff. I do think that the bow thing opened our doors
absolutely
significantly, and like you said, it gave us that additional opportunity to have more hunting time, but now we've got to transition from a rifle in a blind, which is a very staged
box blind.
thing.
It's hidden.
And how many times have you talked to somebody about hunting, and they're like, well, that's not really hunting. You're sitting in a box blind.
Yeah.
You've got food feeders
100 yards away.
You know exactly what's going to happen. Yeah. You know when they come. And they're right. There's some truth to that.
I can see the argument.
But you're still getting up at the ass crack. You're still getting out there. You're still prepared. You're still.
It's 100% a challenge of having to make a shot,
an ethical shot,
and it's not everything is gonna be. You don't have to. Not everything has to be. I'm gonna make this as hard as humanly possible. It's like these guys who take. And they're like, well, I got this thing at 500 yards, but I'm gonna go ahead and back up because I want to shoot it at 800. Why? I don't understand that. Like, just because you said you can. It's one thing if you're like, well, I'm at 800 yards. I got to shoot this thing from across a canyon. It's my only option, and I know I can do it. Then do it.
Great.
But why back up? And to me, I obviously get the box blind thing. It makes it allows kids to hunt. It allows older folks to hunt. It's the way that people in Texas hunt. And. Growing up, that's what we did. That's what you got into your blind and you hunted.
But because we wanted that opportunity of additional hunting time during bow season only season, you're forced into playing by the rules of that. Not only from like a regulated game and warden thing, but it changes the game of how you hunt.
Absolutely.
You don't have the luxury of shooting at those kind of yards anymore. You've got to get into an ethical range with a bow, and you're talking maybe 30 yards, right?
Oh man, yeah. Anything outside of that is still one of those things I'm like, ugh.
Yeah. So because of
Nerve-wracking.
that, you're sitting in a tree stand now instead of a box blind, or you're hidden somewhere and you're even closer to the game. And I think that's where that excitement comes from.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. The wind.
You've planned, you've studied, you read the wind, the elements, everything is there, and now you're doing that same hunting, but you're doing it even closer.
Absolutely.
It becomes an actual personal experience.
There's no doubt about that.
And with public land, what we're seeing is that we're going to have to do that and then some. We're going to have to pursue animals. You can't just stand there and wait for an animal to come in front of you all the time. You actually have to probably get down and move and track, and really, because you can't have bait. You can't.
No, you can't do that.
Public hunting land, you cannot bait stuff out there.
And a lot of the places around here are bow hunting. So around Dallas, it's bow only. Very few. That is the one thing about public land, at least in the Dallas area, is the majority of it is bow only, with some limited rifle things. They've got the draws and things like that you can go and hunt rifle with. Some of the places like I think Caddo, they have a rifle season up there, but for the most part it's bow only. And so you've cut, if you shoot a bow, you've cut out a lot of people who don't shoot a bow from as far as competition out there. And then it's really just who wants it more and who's willing to put the boot leather in to get there and figure it out. I mean, Gavin and I have already been doing some scouting around for the places that we're going to hunt this year, and we have some trail cameras out, and that's one of the biggest things that we've learned is you got to have something out there that's going to allow you to capture some time. And it's obviously a risk because those things grow legs really quickly out there, but secure them up, and just the information that's going to tell you is definitely something we're going to talk about. I know it's in future episodes, as far as once we've got some cameras out soaking, if you will, and they've been out 2 weeks now.
Yeah.
And so I think pretty soon we're going to go pull some trail cameras and check out what we got. And I think that really, for my first year of hunting public land and trying to figure out how to just do it, the mechanics and logistics of getting there, getting a stand up, and putting it in a place where you're going to see something, it was a strikeout. But as one is wont to do in this industry, you take what your failure is and turn it into a success, and that's exactly what we've done this year. Is we know we've got to be out way, way, way ahead of time. We've already started scouting. We've already been out to 2 or 3 places already this year, and we have trail cameras out. So we now have a set of eyes on that property 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And so we're going to start with a place and see what we've got, and then travel a little more and see what we got there, and then hone it down until we've got stand locations and places where we're going to hopefully be able to harvest some quality organic meat.
Certainly there's hogs there.
Absolutely.
Just getting on the ground and where the rubber meets the road, the research we've done and actually being out there. Let's talk a little bit about some of the, I wouldn't say misconceptions, but let's talk about some of the things that people have identified with public hunting land that usually deters them, right? Like, one of the things that comes to mind immediately is there's too many jagoffs out there, hunters out there. It's overpopulated, lots of pressure, and you hear stories about game wardens getting shot by a dumb hunter not wearing hunter's orange that thinks the game warden in the woods is an actual
taking a
deer.
rifle out on a place that's bow only.
Exactly. That is real. There are certainly documented episodes of hunters that are, I guess, practicing unethical hunting characteristics where they're not following the rules. And
idiots and assholes exist everywhere.
And they're taking shots with a rifle when it's bow only, and they're taking shots with a rifle through trees and brush, and they don't have a clear view of the game. They haven't identified the game.
No.
It's a real thing. It is. And there's a reason why they've got regulations written around stuff to prevent that.
Absolutely.
Like, you have to wear your hunter's orange. What was it, like 300 square inches?
400 square inches, yeah.
Of hunter's orange. There's a reason for that. Let's play by the rules, and we can win this game. Another thing that people talk about with public hunting land is they don't really know where it is. And
it's hard to find.
It's hard to find, and it's there is some truth to that. There is tons of acres of land, millions, in fact, in the United States. In Texas alone, there's so much land. It's not one piece, guys. It's broken up. It's all over. Some are big, some are small, that Abe alluded to. But what you got to realize is this land has been set up and it's available for you to go hunt, because this is a tradition. This is something that we all want to continue to have as an opportunity for us to go hunt, and we can't always afford a giant piece of land that you're going to want to have. I
don't have that kind of money.
I don't have that kind of money. Yeah. We've looked at land, and it's expensive. But this is an opportunity, and it's worth doing right.
And it's close.
It's close.
That's the thing, It's not. I mean, granted, there are places you can drive to. Hell, we can get in the truck and drive down to Bend National Park. I mean, there's all kinds of places way out there out in the west. That there's places in the south. There's places in the east. But for us to be able to have, I think it's like 12 or 14, 15,000 acres within 2 hours of Dallas.
Why would you not take that opportunity?
I mean, that's...
Try it.
To hunt deer, ducks, turkey.
For $48.
Doves. Hogs. I mean, anything you can hunt. I mean, there's predators. There's everything out there that you'd want. And I think... I don't know, it just seems like it's something that a lot of people do, and a lot of people do it, and no one talks about it, right? No one's going to give up their secret spot, because it's a lot of work, And so, I mean, just the piece of property that we're looking at this year is, we don't even go in by foot, We go in a secret way with the kayaks and get up a creek channel and move in that direction. So you got to, I mean, that's the one thing it definitely, public hunting makes you be creative, because you can park the truck, leave it, and walk. But you're going to do a lot of walking, and you're going to have to get way, way, way back there, because you just have game that is pressured where you don't really have that on private land, because you know that it's you and your group, and that's it. I mean, obviously, if somebody's out there trespassing, but for the most part, that place, that stand setup you have, no one's walking past that. No one's disrupting those deer that are in that area, where anyone could walk through there. Anybody can. I mean, just the first year of hunting, I mean, you walk through there and you can see you see the traffic. And, opening day, you better get out there early. I mean, especially with duck hunting and dove hunting. If you're going to get out and you're going to do those things here in the next 2 months, you better get out early, and you better get you a spot that is back there. Because it's easy, especially here in Dallas. You can get on land. There's tons of places that, I mean, we could be on dove fields in 15 minutes from my house here in Rowlett. So the fact that you can get there so quickly means there's going to be people. And so, they're there. And, you got to deal with them. And, there's going to be a time when you're up in a stand or sitting on, and somebody just walks right in front of you.
Yeah. I imagine we'll see some of that with our trail cams that we have out there.
Oh, I can't wait,
Let's talk about some of the issues that public hunting land has. So what are the rules in Texas regarding public hunting land? They don't want you to bring a rifle.
Well, I mean, it depends, right? So it depends on the piece of property. Each property, so, I mean, I guess the first and foremost thing you got to do is you got to have a hunting license. And then you have to get your $48 stamp. And you can do that anywhere. It's just like getting an archery stamp or a waterfowl stamp.
Academy, right?
Academy, Walmart, Cabela's, Bass Pro, any place, but they will give you this handy dandy Texas Public Lands book that is, I mean, it's a nice size book that breaks down every single piece of property, the rules and regulations for that particular property, because a piece of property that is old Sabine River bottom has one set of rules. Tawakoni's got another. Caddo Grasslands has got another. And there's different ways. There's different means. There's different things that can be done and how you do it. So it really just depends on where you're going to go. So I think the first thing is get your license, get the book, which you can get it online too. Just Texas Annual Hunting Permit, and Google that, and I think the PDF is right there. But that comes out every year, and just like the licenses, it'll turn over in August, and you'll be able to get it.
Yeah, and one of the things that I've learned that's worth passing on is it's ironic in this day of age of online and being on the interwebs. This book is much more valuable than you probably are realizing.
Absolutely.
It does break down each property. It does map it out. It does give you the regs. But when you juxtapose that to the fact that the budget that the state has as it applies to the hunting lands, and specifically the maintenance and upkeep, most of these public hunting lands are very poorly identified physically. So you can go up to where you think it is, and you might actually be on it, but you're not going to see a sign.
Nope.
And if you do, it'll be rusted out. It'll be full of bullet holes.
I mean, right at the entrance, you're going to see that too. But I mean, that's that one spot. That's like the best thing that they've got. But a lot, you're not going to be able to. I mean, the best one that I've been on is Caddo, but that's national forest land. So it's the government, it's the federal government who's doing that. So that one's very clearly marked. And this year, really, with something like Onyx maps is what I've added to my arsenal this year, and being able to view exactly where I'm at. And know, yes, I'm on that, or no, I'm not.
What are you calling it?
Onyx Maps, yeah. ONXMAPS.com, I believe. It's an application you can have on your phone or on your computer. You create an account. I think it's like $39-$40, something like that, for a year for the state of Texas. And it will break down. It'll show you every single. It's a map overlay is really what it is, and it allows you to see all public hunting land and the boundaries for that, and if you're on it or you're not. It'll also give you landowner information. So the people who are right around that, you can totally see who from the tax records who's that piece of property that's right there. So if you did go knock on their door, I mean, it's probably a little weird if you knock on and go, "Hey, Betty, I saw your name on the internet. Thought I'd knock on your door and see if I can come hunt your property." But just to be able to know that you're on it. That's the biggest thing. Like Gavin was saying, with being able to identify the borders, it is different because that piece of private land, that fence. You probably know the guy on the other side of the fence, and may or may not be a big deal that you go over there. Yeah. But on the public side, it's a big deal if you go over there. A lot of these people who live around there, they are hardcore about. You'll see those markings before you see anything else.
Yeah.
You'll see private, no trespassing. This is not yours, no hunters.
Think about it, because they've got to be sensitive to it. They've probably had a bunch of yahoos on their land hunting, and they might even, most likely, are hunters or farmers. They want to protect their own land, and they've had to deal with this before. So, they are much more sensitive to it than if it was a piece of public land somewhere that you're hunting with a family ranch or something.
Yeah. So that's, I mean, like I said, get the book, and that'll give you a lot of information. I mean, it gives you a map exactly of which piece of property you're at, and all the rules, all the regulations. And then it's just a lot of walking. You just have to get out there and sweat it out. And it's going to take time. You're not going to walk out there. I mean, if you're lucky, and everybody, gets lucky every now and then, but you're not going to walk out there, set up a stand and shoot something.
Right.
It's just not. You're not going to do it. I mean, you may shoot a pig like that, but I think that would be your best bet.
So to that point, though, it makes me think about how public hunting land, they have a rule that says, do not leave blinds.
Yeah, you can't leave anything out there. Yeah, that's the big thing. You've got to pack in, pack out. So everything you take in there, you got to take back out. And it's not like you're going to drag a feeder back there. You're definitely not going to drag a box blind. So you're probably working off of some sort of climbing stand or some sort of pop-up, some sort of hang-on tree stand, because you got to pack it back there, So, I mean, it's something that is not going to be left there. And they're pretty hardcore about that. They don't want you leaving this stuff up there because it's public land. It'll grow legs and walk away.
The challenges of public hunting land are finding it, making sure you know where you are, and then doing the legwork to figure out potential.
That's the hardest thing to me is figuring out the piece of property that you're hunting.
You're definitely going to have that. You're going to have dealing with Yahoo hunters that could be really private in particular about, hey, this is my part of the public hunting land. Well, whatever. So you're going to have that, or you'll have the hunter that's just a complete ass and doesn't know what he's doing. He's not following the rules and runs the risk of hurting himself.
Absolutely. I mean, but to be fair, you also have people that you run into who will show you exactly where to go. I mean, they'll share that information with you. I mean, a lot of guys who are out there are not that way. They're very respectful. They understand. They're sharing this. They understand that. Yeah, that may have been the spot that they've hunted for the last 5 years, but you got there first, so it's yours. You know, I mean, there's as much as there is bad, there is good, and you'll have guys that will sit with you in a parking lot and talk to you about everything that they know about hunting that piece of property for the last 15 years.
Yeah.
And you'll be able to pull out some information that you would have had to have spent 15 years walking around and hunting and failing. I love that because
to get, here we are trying to pay it forward as well. So those are the challenges. What are the rewards of public hunting land? What are you expecting to get out of this, hunting on public land?
I mean, to me, the biggest reward is going to be, it's just the challenge of the whole new experience of hunting in that regard. Being able to hunt more often during the week, during the weekend, and not having to make a huge plan. I mean, it's very easy with the way we've got things set up this year that the two of us can, on a Wednesday, say, hey, let's play hooky on Friday and let's get out there. And get out there early Friday morning and hunt. It allows us to hunt. I mean, when you have where we hunted down in Cuero, there's absolutely, I mean, in my opinion, there's really just no way for us to be able to say, hey, big cold front moved through, deer are going to be up and moving, let's get out there and go. It's just too much logistically with our families and with work and with life to be able to take a 4-hour trip down there. And you're only going to be able to do that a couple times a year. I mean, really, without, leading a life that you live by yourself. And, so the fact that I can, I have a goal this year of sitting in a deer stand 30, 40 times right here, less than 2 hours from my house.
Yeah.
So that is the biggest reward to me. Obviously, the meat is a benefit there. But just the time out in the woods is that's my cherry.
Yeah, and I know you, and I know the level of passion you bring to this it's actually pretty contagious. It's far beyond most people I talk to in the hunting world. So creating that opportunity is pretty big. I know that that feeling that can come from much more opportunity is the conversion. So we've put in all this work. We've sweated, we've bled, we've researched ticks. But
watch out that one now that make allergic to meat.
That moment that you have harvested your first animal off public hunting land.
Oh, I mean, I can't wait. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that's just like my first deer, let me say that, we've done the pig thing, we've done the birds and whatnot, but chasing deer is the big thing for me this year. Is getting a public land doe or buck is, I don't even care. I just want some whitetail, meat in the freezer. We're down to the end of that in the freezer, so it's time to add some more. But what is your thought on this whole public thing now that we've really kind of delved into it headlong?
The convenience is great, and the creating opportunity, I'm a big believer in creating opportunity, because the more opportunity you have, the more chance you have to then convert and score or whatever. So that's going to be big, but I am looking forward to that moment where I can look and say, all of this hard work has paid off.
It happened.
And you're taking that first bite of the sausage that you've made from the animals you've harvested, and you realize it is obtainable. It is something we can do and not have to drive 5 hours or 10 hours or whatever you guys are doing too. But it's realistic, and all the learnings that we have already gained from the 10 years of hunting, and then the time we're spending now in public land, that's going to be pretty cool to share. I think that's going to be something that
I can't wait. Yeah,
it's going to help people. And I remember those moments where we're kicking sod out on a public land, not knowing what we're doing because we've never been there. And you run into that hunter that shares his knowledge with you.
Yep.
And how cool it is. It's like an instant friend. I mean, there's such a camaraderie
Absolutely.
in the hunting community that is a big deal, and it's what keeps you going. And when you find one of those guys that pass that information on, you find the value in that, it's something that you want to do too. You want to pass it on,
Pay
too,
it forward.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, think about this. In the hunting industry, it's very polarized. You can't stand hunters and you don't understand why. Why not just go to the grocery store? Well, there's a lot of discussion around that. But then there's also guys that do hunt, and that community is alive and it's thriving and it's knowledgeable. But I wouldn't say that it's continuing to grow, right? Because there's less and less people taking youths or kids learning how to hunt. You got to get them out there, right? And
Absolutely.
so I feel like that this hunting community is kind of dwindling. It's dying. So
Agreed.
If our knowledge can help somebody and maybe inspire somebody to try the public land and then share their knowledge, pay it forward, man. I mean, take a kid hunting is a real thing that happens.
I mean, just to be able to take your kid out and hunt and not have to drop a couple $100.
I think that's
just
why
to
most
go for a
people
day hunt,
intimidate.
right? I mean, I mean, anybody can go on Craigslist and find a place to go day hunt, which is a complete roll of the dice. Why not take $100 and put it towards a bow if you don't have one? Mm-hmm. I mean, the fact that you can get a crossbow now and shoot that thing. I mean, you can. I mean, these things that. I mean, good Lord, we're not talking about something that is a Roman crossbow. That's a piece of a cross of wood. These things you can pick up a crossbow and you can shoot that. Your kid can shoot that, and you can be deadly accurate in an hour. Yeah. I mean, if you shot a rifle, not even that time. I mean, your biggest thing with that is just going to be learning the distance and learning to be still, because you're not in a blind. You're up in a tree, or you're in a box, you're in a little pop-up blind, and you've got to let them get closer. And so that's your biggest learning curve, in my opinion, as far as getting used to shooting a bow, which, like we said before, a lot of this land that's right around Dallas and a lot of the public land is near is going to be around metropolitan areas. It's going to be bow only. You're going to have to use a bow outside of the several, like the little places that offer some sort of a rifle season. But you're going to have to fight some numbers there because, that's obviously the majority of people are rifle hunters. But to be able to take, to me, to be able to take your kid out into the woods for a relatively inexpensive amount, really it's going to be the cheapest way you can go. There's just, unless you know somebody and somebody's willing to let you go out there for free, it's the cheapest way you can do it. And you can get your kid out there and you can, it's talk about the value of hard work, of trying to figure it out and really looking at something and tearing it apart and having to deal with a little bit of failure and then overcoming that eventually because they're there. There's no doubt. We were out and we saw a doe jump she was just swimming in the water,
It was so bizarre.
They're there.
When we were kayaking in and to see a doe, a good sized doe on public land. It was swimming in the channel we were paddling in. I've never seen this in my life. And of course it busted us and saw us and started
very
snorting.
quickly.
That snort that
she was just coming straight at us. I thought it was weird. She just kind of stopped and then made a beeline and ran off into the grass, but
yeah, I would think that it would be selfish of me if I didn't share with my kids or somebody that wanted to hunt that feeling I get.
Absolutely.
That we both have. That's of the waking up with a world and the discipline over your body about being quiet and making sure that your eyes are focused to where you can see game. That thrill, that excitement, and then when you actually harvest an animal and you're eating this animal, that's something that's be selfish of me not to share with somebody.
Absolutely,
because somebody shared it with me, and that's where my spark grew into a fire and is now a passion that I know you have too. And I can honestly say that I've learned so much just about being out there and studying nature and the way animals behave and the way trees grow and the way that the sound of a squirrel that's upset with you for being near his tree, and just those minor things is just
squirrels that sound like 18-wheelers coming through the woods. It's typically you're like, deer. Oh wait, it's a squirrel.
Yeah, it's a squirrel. I want to share that, and so I'm going to start and kind of scratch that itch, if you will, by sharing it through this podcast and see where it goes from there. I think it's worthwhile, and there's a level of maturity there that is grown from doing this kind of stuff. So I want to make sure you guys have a chance to do that.
100%. Yeah. And you know, obviously we've sat and talked a lot about public land today, and a lot about hunting with a bow or a rifle. One of the other things I think with a lot of public land that's overlooked is the draw system. I mean, it's maybe not overlooked, but something we're definitely going to cover on the show.
I didn't know about it, and I've lived here all my life. And something that you've studied and figured out, this is a real thing.
You can, I mean, the Texas public draw system is probably one of the simplest ones. It's very easy. You get the preference points. So if you sign up, put in your application, which costs a whopping $3
Really?
to apply. Now, I mean, the cost of the permit if you get drawn varies. $80, $130 I think is the two most common ones that I've seen. But there's a boy down in South Texas, and I guess not even South Texas, like Central Texas, shot two 200-inch deer off of Granger State Park. Draw, postcard hunt. So
that's a massive. Yeah. That's like a trophy.
That's a giant, right?
And it's public.
I think one was like 239 and the other was like 209. But you know, it's you're not obviously you're not going to shoot a 200-inch deer. You're not going to shoot a 130 or a 140 even probably. But they're there, and with the draw hunt, you've got all kinds of things. You can hunt Gemsbok. You can hunt aoudad, alligators. It's just, there's so many things that are out there, and it's Texas draw hunts. Just Google it, you'll find the link. Texas Parks and Wildlife is a very simple, short video where you can see how the system works. That comes out in I think 7 or 8 days, 1st of July they said. So
all right, so to dumb it down for me, a draw hunt in Texas means that I can, as a hunter, go and apply to like a lottery system.
It's a lottery, yeah.
Okay, so I put my name in the hat for $3, no big deal, and essentially, call it 10 people or something get chosen to then go hunt on this draw ticket for a certain amount of time. Yep. And they get to be there by themselves or with the other folks that won the draw. All right, so you've got millions of acres, lots of opportunity, lots of game, where you, the lottery-winning draw hunt guy, get to go hunt by yourself, essentially, where there's no other pressure out there. And
absolutely,
it's a kind of a reward thing, if you will, when you win.
Yeah, I mean, depending on where you apply, I mean, a lot of it is done based on the piece of public land you're going to go hunt. I mean, and there's some guys who like the private land that kind of give up hunts to draw hunts. And so I guess there's really two varieties in the state with the draw. There's just the Texas draw hunts, and then there's the postcard hunts. And that is you have to have your $48 public hunting stamp, but then you can submit for the postcard hunts, which is another type of a draw that will allow you to hunt certain places very small amount of time. For instance, Cooper State Park, Cooper Lake, right? Yeah. They have an postcard hunt. I think it's like a couple, 3 or 4 days. I think it's in November. They shut the entire park down, and it's you and however many they give out, and that's it.
And so, what's there that I'm going to be able to hunt?
So, I mean, obviously deer and things like that, but you're going to be able to have a massive piece of property of which you could have scouted all year long, and found your spot, gotten out there, and I mean, you can camp there obviously too, but and have basically the entire place to yourself. You're going to have it's closed to the public for those. I think it's a weekend typically is what it is. Okay. And I mean, they're not giving 300 of these away. This is like, we're talking 30 or 40. And so you've got unfettered access to this place where you may have God knows how many people open to the public. Anybody can walk onto it, and anybody can walk onto it not even to hunt, right? I mean, at places like Caddo, you've got horseback riders. You've got all kinds. I mean, people are hiking around. There's tons of trails up there. So you're not just dealing with other hunters in some of these places. You're dealing with other people who are non-hunters, who are just out there,
ATVs and horseback and fishes.
Like Old Sabine River Bottom has an ATV trail that you can go to, but they've got it divided up half and half, so there's half of it that's like not ATV, the other half is, and so you can kind of get away from it a little bit. But that we're definitely my goal is to go through the Texas draw hunts and get a aoudad this year to shoot an exotic. Like I said, they've got black buck, Gemsbach, just all kinds of. In Central Texas, you spend a lot of time down there. They have exotics that run around.
Oh yeah,
wild.
Lots of access.
Oh,
black bucks.
Yeah.
So you can tell. So and then draw hunts though I know are something available not just in Texas, but it's every state has a draw, right? A draw system that varies.
I think probably most of them do. Maybe towards the east, there's a limited supply of those things. I mean, I think as you move east, it's going to get, I guess, more and more limited. But obviously in the west, I mean, we're talking about putting an elk hunt together for the Colorado thing, and that's obviously you can put draws there, but Colorado's got the over-the-counter stuff, so
I can live in Texas and still apply for a draw.
For a non-resident, I think, what is it, for a bull elk tag in Colorado, you can drop like $700 and go.
But that's like a once-in-a-lifetime bucket list kind of thing, right? All right.
Yeah,
so
do it yourself for
the knowledge that you've already pulled together for draw hunts in Texas is really kind of applicable all around. It might have varying rules and regulations and the animals you're going to get, but
preference points, things like that. I mean, there's a lot of variation, and it's easier to understand in some places. It's a freaking trying to read Russian, and others, but a lot of the fish and game agencies for that particular state have YouTube videos on exactly what to do.
I wonder what's the point of a draw hunt? Like, is it from putting myself in the shoes of the Parks and Wildlife folks? Yeah. Do they do draw hunts to create excitement around hunting, or is it to really focus on culling in that particular area, or what is it?
I think it's two things really. I think the big thing is it's a lot of money. They generate a lot of money off of. I mean, so in the state of Texas, you draw. I think like an aoudad hunt. I mean, you can do it's like $80. There's some that are 130, but I mean, you have a huge licensing fee. It allows people from out of state. It allows in-state people to have access to certain units. So when you're putting in the state of Texas, you're putting in a draw application for Granger State Park. And that's where so that's the unit, if you will, in the state of Texas. Other places have other defined units, and those units, some of those units are over the counter. Some of those units are very limited entry. Some of those are trophy units where you've got just a spectacular age class of animals where you can shoot a giant once in a lifetime trophy. And those are going to be harder to get, and therefore people not in the state of Texas as a resident, all you got to do is go to Walmart, get a hunting license, and go hunt on a piece of property, that you have access to. Yeah. In some places, that's just, you don't have that. You've got to be in it. Some people have over the counter. Others, you have to have you've got to draw to get. I mean, you can't just, as a Colorado resident, go shoot a Rocky Mountain bighorn. You got to put in an application. You got to get drawn. So that it allows them to generate money from the licensing aspect of it. It allows them to also be able to protect it allows for a limited amount of people to be able to go and hunt a certain species. And that's very controllable. So you're whittling down from the public, the millions and millions of people, down to a handful of people who are then maybe successful, maybe not successful. So with the biggest thing there is probably get on GoHunt.com, and I mean that thing is it's a search engine essentially for you to be able to say, I want to go hunt elk in Colorado, and I want to shoot, I want I want the odds of me drawing the tag to be this. And you can really define and very much define the search criteria for what you're looking for.
What was that site?
GoHunt.com,
okay.
yeah. And so it'll allow you to figure out where you want to go, right? And it'll help you in dealing with putting in applications and stuff, just basically getting you the information to help you design.
Yeah, we'll put a lot of those
links,
quips that are coming out and links that are coming out from this conversation attached to this podcast so you guys can look at it easier. That's fascinating. I'm very ill-equipped about the whole draw hunt thing. I knew what it was in a general term about a lottery system being able to hunt certain things and reducing the number of people out there at the same time. But I had no idea that you could go that focused and that targeted in on it. And it still stays in that kind of affordable idea that we want to have too, where accessible, opportunities increased. It's very probably the most affordable hunting you can do is public hunting land.
Oh yeah, I mean absolutely the DIY. Just go out and do it. I mean, for a couple Texas boys to saddle up and drive to Colorado, and
you just don't do that on a whim.
Yeah,
man.
you got. There's a lot of planning that goes into it. But for $700, you can put a elk tag in your pocket. I mean, I think it's even cheaper it's obviously cheaper for like a cow tag, but there's like 90 some odd units in the state of Colorado that will allow you to just drive up, get a tag, and walk out into millions and millions and millions of acres of public land and harvest an elk. Harvest a mule deer. I think for $1,000 you can get like a black bear and an elk tag for $1,000. Now you got to go out into the backcountry and get one, but think about the cost to try to go hunt an elk with an outfitter. Yeah.
Several thousand. I would
oh
imagine.
yeah, plus the tag, plus the everything there. I mean, and granted, you're gonna have somebody who's gonna to guide you through it. But once again, the challenge of figuring it out yourself and doing it yourself is the appeal to this whole public land thing for me. And that's you can hunt elk every year if you wanted to. You can hunt mule deer every year as a resident of the state of Texas in places like Colorado. Wyoming and Montana may not be, you can probably do it pretty regularly, but, Colorado is over the counter. A lot of it's just drive up, get it, and go out. Yeah.
All right. So we'll bring some of that information as that develops too to the podcast.
2018 is the year of the elk. I've never elk hunted before. Always wanted to. And so we are going to hunt elk in 2018. We have not figured out if we're going to go bow or rifle yet, but
could you imagine breaking down such a big animal?
Yes.
Yes, I can.
So yes.
Or a bear. You're like, where do I start?
Yeah, I've got the bear thing is. I've got pretty free reign when it comes to hunting. My wife is though very much like, why can't you just leave the bear alone?
Right.
I'm like, I don't know. I really want. I'm going to focus on an elk and a mule deer first, but a black bear.
My wife talks about having eaten black bear.
I want some black bear
as a
ham.
child when her father brought some home, and I've heard stories and seen other shows where they've eaten bear. And,
they're good.
I can't say I wouldn't try it. I mean, I'll try anything once, but
especially like blueberry. Get one of those ones in an avalanche shoot eating blueberries, just fat on berries. I bet they're yummy.
That is a good point.
I've heard when you cut those bears open, you can smell the blueberries.
Really?
Like they're just blueberry fat. Like it's just such ingrained. I mean, you are what you eat, right?
Yeah, sure.
So
totally. That's the culinary training that I have. It's always suggested the same, and the animal tastes like what it eats so often. And when you talk about eating sandhill crane, I think about what they eat, and I'm like, I'd rather eat a raw catfish, but. I think that they eat like minnows and fish and frogs and crap like that. And I'm going, how good could this
they also eat a lot of grain. I mean that's where I've seen them hunted is, and
it's a bird. I get it.
West Texas, West Texas, like the Panhandle, and Lubbock, Amarillo area, and they're on a cotton farm or corn field and.
We'll have to do that and then make a dedicated episode just for that.
It's something that I definitely want to do, for sure.
Good. This is a lot of good information. I can't wait. I mean, I get really, really pumped when I start thinking about bringing this kind of detail to you guys. I want to make sure that we can articulate it in a way that's digestible, it's relatable to you guys, it saves you some freaking time and some resources and some energy, so that when you're planning your hunt, you have one leg up and you get a chance to go out there and hopefully reach your goal of converting and harvesting an animal that you're going to bring home and eat. I think it's pretty good. It's a good start.
Absolutely. Yeah, I know it's coming up pretty soon. We really want to get some guests on the podcast as well. So we're going to focus on some of the people around where we live here in Dallas.
Yep.
As far as have some people like the game wardens on and some wildlife biologists to talk about animal numbers, what they see, trying to get some people who are in associations around the state for different aspects of hunting. We'd love to have Texas backcountry hunters and anglers on. That would be kind of a fun thing.
Yeah, and I know that we both kind of have connections in there. I know you've already spoken with the game warden and some of the public land areas, and actually that's a great idea, is to have that kind of relationship as you're going in.
Absolutely, yeah.
Right?
You
want to know what he's looking for, what his expectations are, so that you're playing by the rules and you're able to do an
good rule of
harvest.
thumb just in general, right?
Yeah.
It's just
you want to make friends with these
guys. Yeah, you want to
be
you want that guy walking up and be like, "Hey, Gavin, how you doing, buddy? You have any luck?" You know?
I'd rather have that than him going, "Oh, it looks like about 200 square inches of hunter's orange, not 400 square inches."
Exactly.
Oh God!
Come on down here.
Yeah. So
right
we'll bring those up. So I think you know, game wardens. I have reach into the firearms industry, and I can bring some of those guys. We've got veterans.
You got the dream job.
I am very happy.
I sit in a desk, driving a computer,
working for the man.
Working for the man, which I love, man out there who's maybe listening. But you get to spend all your time in gun shops, and
I do.
Yeah.
I do. I am in the firearms industry, and I do get to see quite a bit and learn a lot about all the guns out there and what calibers are, what manufacturers are doing, and all those relationships. So I can bring some of that in. It'd be nice to have, hunters and rangers and
absolutely
parks and wildlife folks. Biologists would be neat to have on. I think from a veteran standpoint, there's a lot of vets that have a lot of knowledge, and it would be something
fascinating
cool to bring.
to me. Yeah.
And a lot of them hunt too, so I'd want to have them bring that thought into it. And you'll hear that come up. We'll talk about guns and calibers and whys. And
this will be a very wide variety of
will.
things,
It will.
for sure.
But it's all about passing the knowledge on,
Yep.
what we've learned to save you guys some effort and energy.
For sure.
So, Chasing Carnivores.
Chasing Carnivores is, subscribe, like it, send a review. We're going to try to do it as often as possible. And I know
the kind of guys, too, that are going to help answer questions. So
absolutely, send those in, and, whatever you have question-wise or comments, please make those aware.
So how can they get in touch with us if they want to ask a question? Good question, right?
Yeah, we'll
Let's figure that out.
Yeah. I think we should just go with, we'll have an email address attached to this. You can send that. You send us information. You can reach out to us on Facebook, obviously. Either one of our...
We'll set up a dedicated Chasing Carnivore email and Facebook, and we'll make sure those are attached in every single one of our podcasts.
For sure.
So that you guys can always reach out if you want. And I think it's an open dialogue kind of thing.
Very much so.
Like to have that community aspect to what we're doing, because you never know.
Yeah.
We are going to learn something from the questions that come up.
Yeah, I mean, and obviously just the podcast here is going to be one vehicle to be able to obtain information. I think it's going to be a lot of a lot more informative throughout as we go. But we're also going to have a YouTube channel, so you're going to be able to see a lot of this in action. I mean, we're very highly documenting our scouting efforts this year. So you'll get to ride along with us as we go through this exercise of hunting public land. Less than 2 hours from Dallas.
Yeah.
That's the thing, right? So we're both. You will see us grow from just the aspect of scouting. You'll witness how we're going to put together what animals are on our harvest and on our hit list. Hopefully document a couple preseason hunts with some pigs. That's what I really want to. I'd like to get out and do a little pork.
Yeah, we will.
You know?
We definitely. That's on my list for sure. So, what can we expect in the next episode? How often are we going to have episodes? What do you think?
I mean, I'd like to see. Hopefully about once a week, once every 2 weeks at the most. Obviously, I know we've got lives and wives and things to deal with, but for sure, the next episode is going to be focused on our. We're going out, I think, in 2 weeks a week to go check trail cameras. So there will be a lot of talk about what we saw there.
Yeah, we've got footage of
Hopefully
going in.
They're
We've
still
got
there.
footage of the land. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and then we'll share the pics of what we see on the trail cam. Hopefully, it's more than just other jerk-off hunters staring at them or whatever.
I hope so. I mean, those two places we put those trail cameras at, I think are going to be. We went out and, like I said, we took the kayaks out. We went out and we got onto a piece of land here near us, and we walked, I don't know, 4 or 5 miles.
Sure.
And
it's not easy walking. It
oh
is
no, yeah.
Brush as tall as we are, and trees.
Bring your
40
pants.
feet in the air, yeah.
Good boots.
Snake boots and everything.
Yeah.
So yeah, and we saw a ton of tracks.
Yeah.
I mean, a ton. We saw hog tracks. There were probably some of the biggest hog tracks I've ever seen.
Oh, no doubt. Yeah, so I'm anxious to see that and to see, especially as the year goes along, how those trees. We got into a section of land there that has a lot of massed acorns, pecans,
acorns, yeah.
And so I'm interested to see how that crop looks this year. With hopefully with all this rain, and we keep getting some rain, because that's nature's feeder.
That's what they eat.
Now, the good thing about that is you don't have to worry about a battery going out or a damn raccoon tearing wiring out.
Been there.
Which we've lost several feeders, and varmint cages are now on our. We do hunt in South Texas on a piece of private property, and so you will see that as well on the YouTube channel, because that's going to happen. We've already been down there. I went twice, 3 times this year to prepare.
Mm-hmm.
And so, I mean, can you believe, what is it? We only have 3 months. Yeah, July, August, September, dove season.
Yeah.
It's 2 months away.
And then right into bow.
Right into bow season. Yeah. I'm really excited about November, I think, this year. October was tough hunting last year for me.
Really hot.
Yeah, really hot. And just doing the public thing last year, October was weird. I think October. I think everybody knows that. Anybody who's been around hunting for a while knows that October is one of those weird months for whitetails in the state. I don't know. Sometimes they're there, sometimes they're not.
Yeah.
But November, I'm earmarking November as my put meat in the freezer month.
Okay.
I think it'll be cool.
Very good.
Thanksgiving.
Chasing Carnivores. Yeah. We will get you guys some information, and we will publish podcasts. Sounds like at most every 2 weeks we'll have some new content out there, and I hope that it helps you as much as it's helped me, and it's been as much fun learning it all. I want to make sure you guys have a chance to hear it all.
Absolutely. Well, thank you guys for joining us. Like and subscribe. Send us your comments. We'll see you guys next week.
Bye.
Chasing Carnivore. Chasing Carnivore. Chasing Carnivore. Chasing Carnivore. Chasing Carnivore.